Hello, I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan.
We're the Ragamuffins, and this is episode 56 of the Ragamuffin Music Podcast. It's a place for us to talk about the music that we love.
On this episode, we're reviewing brand new singles from Electric Callboy, I Prevail and King 810, as well as the new album from Turnstile and the final album from Straight From The Path.
And a bit later on, we'll be trying to predict who might headline or play Slam Dunk Festival 2026 for the 20th anniversary.
No messing about, let's get straight into the latest releases.
We never mess about.
Never.
So the first one we've got is Noonday Demon by King 810. Now, I like this because this feels to me like we're kind of getting towards old King 810, towards like Memoirs of a Murderer, where it's so much more raw and just kind of the extent of David's vocals kind of really showing their range. I think in particular, some great riffs, and it just feels like a throwback to the old sound, but also kind of bringing it into the future and where they're going to go from here. And in terms of just all the releases they've put out this year, from a while where I hadn't been listening to King, I'm now fully back on board. I don't know if new album's been announced or if I've just missed it. If it is though, like I'm very excited for it at this point.
I want to say that I saw something earlier in the year where they said they were going to do some sort of release, like 4 releases once every quarter this year, and they were going to be some sort of mix of like live stuff and recorder stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't kept up with it enough to know if that's actually what they're doing. I don't know. I don't really want to say a return to form because I've enjoyed a lot of King 810's music, and I think I've enjoyed the fact that they've experimented. I think, weirdly, in a way, the best thing that happened to them was leaving Roadrunner.
Yeah.
It allowed, I think, some of the constraints, not saying necessarily that the label put constraints on them, but I feel like if you're a band that have 2 albums back to back that are a very sort of specific sound, and then you're no longer on a label, you're going to want to naturally like push the boundaries a bit. So this one does feel musically like a bit more of a return to like, I guess, the original sound. The only thing I feel is like lyrically it's a song I've heard before.
Mm-hmm.
Is the only thing. But then I don't know, the Amity Affliction write about the same stuff all the time, and you know, or whatever.
What vessel of water should I drown in this time?
I do agree. Like,
so I don't know if that's, when I think about it like that, then I don't know, maybe that is their, I don't want to say their shtick, but like, if that's what they know, you got to write what you know. But there's only so many ways you can say,
it does.
I'm King David and I'm an agent of chaos.
Yeah, it does give that kind of nostalgia of like where he's saying like he's King David on like Memoirs in particular, and just feels like that throwback.
Yeah, I think it just, I don't know, it sort of makes me ponder on like where the line is between being self-referential and sort of using callbacks within your lyrics.
Well, I was
and
going to say, maybe it's
repetitive.
deliberate. Like you guys are saying, it feels like a return to form or like a return back to their old sound. Maybe lyrically, that's why they've intentionally done that as well.
Yeah,
to kind of just connect the dots and make that parallel and make that connection back to the old stuff again.
Also, I've not looked into it too much, but like the video for it is essentially like a session thing where they've got like, it looks like some fans viewing, but I may be wrong. It's like the first time they've kind of shown the guitarist and the drummer without like the King masks they've had on.
Oh, right.
It feels like it's always since, I can't remember both their names. Yeah, but like maybe from, what second album? No.
La Petite Mar.
Yeah, from there, the old drummer and the old guitarist left, and it was just like David and Eugene.
Yeah.
Whereas now it feels like maybe this is the band. So I need to look into it more with it, but I found that kind of an intriguing part. But next up, we've got Violent Nature by I Prevail. First single released without Brian, which I think is an interesting thing as it is, because for a lot of people, he was like the identity in I Prevail, with his vocal style kind of contrasting with Eric's screams.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely noticeable in this track.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the main point I think I have coming into the reviewing this song, is that it's almost like I Prevail is starting again. Like, yeah, like you say, part of the identity of that band is like the dueling vocals, the cleans versus the screams. Obviously, the cleans are missing totally off this song, but also it like sonically it sounds a bit heavier, a bit more like it's leaning into the fact that it's just going to be the heavy vocals now. So maybe this is a new start for I Prevail.
I do worry with it because just kind of having Eric's screams, like with what you had with the back and forth between Eric and Brian before, it was much more distinct. There was a very clear like I Prevail sound, whereas I worry that after listening to this, it's going to make them kind of fall into a very generic category of metalcore. Like there's great riffs throughout it. His screams sound fantastic, but there's not that kind of one thing that almost was like the soul of I Prevail, I would say. And also there's been a bit of talk I've seen where because of this is such a short song, that if it was written prior to Brian leaving, that the reason it's also so short is because they cut his sections out of it.
May well be.
Which could make a lot of sense with it, but I don't know. I'm a little bit apprehensive about the future for I Prevail after this.
Excuse me, my hay fever is quite
potent
today, yes. I feel like I can come to this song maybe the most objectively out of the three of us, because I wasn't super into their music before. I kind of had like a passing awareness, and I think we've reviewed singles here and there, but like I didn't listen to them enough for Brian's voice to be so ingrained into their identity for me. So for me, it was just like hearing a new band. Like I didn't really have any sort of preconceived ideas of what to expect, and I think it sounds really cool. I think it's heavy, and it's aggressive, and it gets to the point and gets through it pretty quickly, but sometimes that's fine for a heavy song. So I don't know, it's interesting to know, like obviously a singer's voice, particularly a clean singer, but the same goes for screamers as well, but a singer's voice is like intrinsically linked to a band's identity, so it's definitely going to be interesting to sort of see them feel out this process going forward. But as far as I can see, it's a very solid start. Fresh off their headlining set of Main Stage East.
Yeah.
At Slam Dunk Festival, Electric Callboy have a new song, Reverie. What do we think?
I think it's kind of... It just follows the Electric Callboy formula, doesn't it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got all the kind of signature Callboy calling cards in there. The electronics, the sort of the fun beats, the riffs, breakdowns, and it's just fun, isn't it? I can't say I love it, but there's nothing to hate about it either. I think it's fine. It's cool. I think it's one of those that if you're a fan of Electric Callboy, you're going to love it. If you're not a fan, then you're not going to be bothered.
I feel pretty neutral about this one. Like, I don't know, I think you said if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but maybe the cracks are starting to show, in the sense that this one feels the most formulaic for a band that have, like, I think pretty consistently been able to sort of surprise you with stuff that they do, like particularly across the Techno Train album. Is that what it was called? Just techno. Particularly across the Techno album, like there's stuff on there that like comes out of left field, kind of makes you laugh, makes you chuckle, sort of surprises you. And I think Elevator Operator.
How do you sound when you chuckle, Alex? What does a chuckle sound like?
God.
But I don't know. I think this song was maybe the most. I don't like the predictable.
Yeah? Okay.
Or I could kind of see where things were going before they got there, which isn't what I want out of Electric Callboy. I want it to feel like, oh fucking hell, now we're in a new thing and it's going crazy, sort of stuff. So.
I think I do agree, probably being the biggest Electric Callboy fan here, like there is like a very kind of formulaic one to this, but I still love it as a song.
Yeah, that's not to say it's bad.
Yeah.
By the way.
Just like it just feels like it's a great entry song if you were just finding Electric Callboy. Seeing it live and the debut of it live at Slam Dunk Festival was really fantastic. And one of the things that sticks out to me the most is that hearing the name of the song and thinking about it, I can hear the melody of the chorus in my head, that's sung by Nico. And I think that's always a great kind of standout point within Electric Callboy's music, is that you can hear names of certain songs and immediately certain parts of those songs are going to immediately pop into your head, like Elevator Operator. I'm hearing that straight away, and I think that's a great thing they're able to do in their songwriting that is quite difficult, I think, for bands to do. I don't enjoy this as much as Elevator Operator, but I'm still kind of hearing this as a release and my expectations are still kind of quite high, and the anticipation for the new album that's meant to be coming out late this year is still very high. So a solid release, not their best work, but I'm happy.
Those are the bloody singles, but before we talk about the albums, a word from our sponsor.
You may notice some lovely T-shirts that we're wearing. We're now sponsored by Broken Day Clothing. You can use code Ragamuffins20 for 20% off all orders over £40. We've got lovely variants in tees. A lot of their clothing is inspired by music, inspired by nostalgia, inspired by horror.
Yeah. I mean, look at Alex. He's got like a Master of Puppets T-shirt on. That's super cool.
Looks banging.
Sick as fuck.
Go get your T-shirts. There'll be a link in the description below. And just look sick for festival season.
We've got a new album from Turnstile, Never Enough. It's over there somewhere. It's the blue one.
The blue thing.
Is it Turnstile Summer?
Yes, it is. Well, I think so, at least.
Why do you think so?
Oh, glad you asked. I am enamoured with this album. I think it's really fantastic. I think it's easy to make the comparisons to Glow On, but I think if Glow On is like jumping into a nice warm pool in the summer, this is jumping off a boat into the ocean. Is how I can best metaphorically describe this album. Like, it's more ambitious for what was already like an ambitious starting point with Glow On, and I think it executes the ideas and like the stuff it's trying like really well. It's almost, and I guess this makes sense because they are doing like a visual, like a visual film to go with this album. And listening to this, it feels like listening to a film score. It feels like the soundscapes and the instrumentation they've picked is like really meticulous. Feels like a lot of emphasis has gone into theme and like mood on this album. And like, even though a lot of the songs do stand out on their own, I think the thing about this album that I enjoy the most, and I think a lot of people get from it, is how easy it is to be in the whole album. Despite, it's not that long, but like 45 minutes and 14 songs for a hardcore. I'm not even doing that. They are a hardcore band, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It under like traditional, if it was just more of like a straight up hardcore band, 45 minutes of it would probably feel quite like exhausting by the end. But Turnstile, obviously a sort of genre blending at this point, well beyond that. And I think it's resulted in, I don't want to be too like recency bias driven, but maybe their best album so far. The only thing is that I think that Glow On is an easier immediate love, whereas this one I think is going to be relative to the time and energy that you give it. So as long as you're willing to put the time into it, I think you'll reap the rewards. I liked how like sort of motifs and ideas kept sort of recurring, which again is very film score-esque to have, you know, like particularly like the ambient pad from Never Enough sort of returns in similar but sort of varying ways just throughout the whole album. There's instrumentation, and a lot of the songs have kind of drawn out outros, which I love, and it almost feels like you could have separated them into like here's the song, here's the interlude. But I like that it's self-contained within.
I feel like it almost like carries you between the songs.
Yeah. I think, like, I don't know how, if the UK is going to get any cinema releases, because I know they are doing some in the States for this, but I feel like seeing whatever it is that they've made will be the ultimate experience of this album. But for listening to it, I love it.
Well, I've only had one listen to this so far, but I feel that was enough to make some very good opinions on this. First of all, I would say that the way Glow On helped them blow up was phenomenal, and for that being such a big release for them, it would have been hard, and there would have been a hell of a lot of expectation going into this as a follow-up, and I feel like they've smashed it on that.
Yeah.
Production throughout this is gorgeous. The reverb on the vocals, the guitar tones is absolutely fantastic, and it feels like since Glow On, there's been a lot of people who have said, oh, they're not a hardcore band, but I think there are so many elements throughout this where it's almost like a fuck you. It's like, no, we've got these riffs, we've got it slamming. I feel like Birds in particular, as I was saying to the boys beforehand, is like a spiritual successor to TLC, with kind of just how it's presented and like the songwriting and the formula throughout it. And it's immediately just off one listen, something that I am very desperate to revisit. And I didn't have that initially with Glow On. It took me a while to kind of come round to them. And after seeing them at Outbreak and Trees in 22, did take me a while to get around to it, but like I think this is where I just get fully pulled into the Turnstile world at this point. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to make comparisons to Glow On. I mean, like, with the whole visual design of the album covers are pretty similar but different colours. Or like the whole artistic design is pretty similar. And to be honest, the sound is similar as well, but it does feel like this is like almost like an extension of Glow On. Glow On was like a great starting point, and then on Never Enough, they've just kind of taken some of the ideas and things from that album and just ran with them and expanded on them, made the instrumentation, like the instrumental parts a bit longer, which just, again, kind of carries you from song to song. Glow On is like a close to flawless album as it is, but I think a lot of, not necessarily a criticism, but a point I'd make about that album is it's very much song, and like very like 1 2 1 2, like hitting you with just song after song after song, which are all bangers. But like Alex said, Never Enough. It just seems to like build the soundscape, and rather than just throw songs at you, kind of guides you from song to song. Kind of like, here, check out Never Enough, and then we'll have like a sort of extended instrumental bit at the end of that, taking you into soul, taking you into the next song, taking you into the next song, and it just makes it a whole more like cohesive and enjoyable piece of work, I think.
Gorgeous flow to the
I'm
album.
not necessarily saying it's better than Glow On, but on the first few listens, it's comparable. They're very much on par at the moment, I think. And as Alex said, I think the more time that I spend with this album, the more that I'm going to get lost into that soundscape and probably rate it higher than Glow On.
Sad news. We have the last album from Stray from the Path.
The last ever Stray from the Path album.
I know.
We've got to go back on the path.
Sadness. I mean, we saw
Keep off the grass.
the week before the release, we're at Slam Dunk, and they had banners up. They had like an ad out in the Slam Dunk kind of booklet you got from Rock Sound, and announcing the album was coming through. They were throwing out copies of the album, but yet
brutally.
Like,
I think one like went into someone's skull and just stayed in there.
Drew was getting some distance on those throws.
Yeah.
We got a new song, Shot Caller, live, and then we got the announcement that this is their final album, and 2025 is their last year. Rip. But Clockworked. Who would like to begin?
Well, I mean, if you're going to go out, you might as well go out swinging on like one of your strongest albums.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of similarities to Euthanasia, but that's absolutely not a bad thing because that album absolutely banged. And I think it just makes me just like disappointed and a bit sad that they're ending, really, because the world needs angry, politically driven music, or at least at the moment, I think the world needs some angry, politically driven music. It needs artists calling out the people that are doing wrong in the world. And Stray from the Path are one of the few bands that still have a big audience and still do that. So it's a shame to see them ending. But yeah, what an album to end on. Heavy as fuck. So there's some big call outs in this album, which is maybe part of it. Maybe they're a bit like, well, if we're calling it a day anyway, just fuck everyone. Let's just make a hit list.
Yeah, I can't really add much more to that, to be honest. It is just such a shame because, like you said, like everything they write and everything they have written is still so significant and relevant to what's going on in the world today, and in a time where it's becoming even more divisive to be political with your art, like them being so like unwavering and like, this is what we believe and we will fight for it, is like, those bands are few and far between. So like, it is just a massive loss to the scene, basically, because it's just one less voice fighting for the right things. But like you said, it's like, it's going out swinging, basically. It's like, well, fuck it, if I go, every fucker's coming with me. And instrumentally, I think it's, you know, it's got some of their most creative and like downright bizarre, like crazy stuff going on. Particularly a lot of like the breakdowns that focus around like panic chords and stuff. Yeah. What Tom has just gone crazy, but the way that it's been produced as well is just really, it's such a fine line in heavy music between like something being tight and slick to going into the line of being overproduced. Stray, thank God, work with Will Putney, who is the master of that. He's done it with Knock Loose, he's done it with countless bands. But again, like, this record is like quite visceral, like obviously like lyrically and vocally they've always been like that, and that's not to say that musically they haven't as well, but this is the one that feels the most musically like violent to me.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It feels like you're being grabbed and shaken.
Particularly Fuck 'Em All to Hell, like it is literally like just a fuck you, basically. So yeah, it's one of the most, it's going to be one of the most bittersweet albums of the year.
That lyric in the chorus is brutal as well. The only time I'm writing your name is on the gravestone, on the headstone rather.
It's just a shame.
I love the bit, like, A Life in 4 Chapters is a really suitable closing track to me as well. Obviously, chapters being a theme in it, it's the close at the end of a chapter. But that, you talked about like weirdness, and like there's a bit towards the end of that before the final breakdown where it does that, like the beat and like the guitars and everything does that, follows that kind of almost like you're being chased or like something's running towards you.
So there is something behind that, which was Craig was talking about when he was putting some notes out, and the last bar of it in that goes from triplets to 16th notes to quintuplets to sextuplets to septuplets, which is something he's been trying to put in a song since 2006.
Right, okay.
So like there's a musical thing for that where that kind of speed is kind of approaching with that. That is amazing.
Have they mentioned anything about like the decision for this to be the last album? Was that made after it was recorded?
I've not seen anything,
because I'd be intrigued to know.
That. So I did say hello to Craig when we were at Slam Dunk Press, and we were talking about it, and kind of from the release perspective he was saying, and he's put stuff out on socials as well, and Tom's did an interview with Roxanne there, and they've all kind of said that it's just kind of fuck just putting loads of singles out, fuck the promotion of it. In the interview with Tom, he was like, the second song never performs as well as the first song. And he's been talking about like when he went to a show years and years ago when he was a teenager and people were throwing out CDs. And he said it always stuck with him, and hence the Slam Dunk throwing out the CDs and vinyls. But no, they've not really said anything as to like the reasoning behind it. Maybe there's a tiredness of kind of fighting constantly with the political themes they've got.
The reason I say that is, like Alex said, with all the ideas and stuff that seem to be going on in this album, whether there's an attitude of, well, if we're not making another one, let's just chuck all the ideas that we might have saved for the future into this album. Because there is, like Alex said, so much weirdness and so much just crazy stuff going on in here that it's almost like, well, we're not going to use this further down the line, so let's just use it on this album.
I love it. It feels like if you're going to go out, you go out with everything swinging. Mm-hmm. There's so much anger throughout this album, kind of directed at certain people on certain topics. I mean,
and humour as well. To be fair, like you're not that guy.
Yeah,
I love that song just because it just feels like you're not that guy, pal.
We've got
buddy.
Can I Have Your Autograph? Really going at David Draymond. There's some other cool notes throughout this. The entire album has the snare from Saint Anger as a sample underneath it, which is quite a funny thing. We nearly had an extra song. There was a secret jazz song that was recorded and everyone bitched out at the last minute. Apparently they had trumpets, they had all kinds of things going on.
Tom has said that apparently that's on the vinyl version.
Ooh.
does exist as like a secret bonus track. So
Interesting. I want to hear
maybe
this.
we need to get our hands on one of them.
Maybe we do.
The Poison the World feature's great, but also just that song as a whole. Bodies in the Dark, that the whole chorus and everything, just stomping and like just almost bludgeoning you. Just
that's a song that
so good.
I feel really has a journey with it as well. The way it's just kind of structured throughout it, when it all kind of drops down a little bit. First time hearing it was not something I expected at all, and it just feels beautifully crafted. Yeah, it's an album I've just kind of been going back to again and again and again since it was out. And yeah, if you're going to go out swinging, go for it. It felt like Euthanasia was going to be something difficult to try and kind of follow up with a strong release because it was such an incredible album. And I feel like they have nailed it with this. I think it will go on to stand the test of time as well as Euthanasia has as well. I hope we get a nice UK tour to end it all off, because they said they're going to do some shows around festivals they've got throughout the rest of Europe.
I do hope so. And I know there's a lot of people, because of the clashes at Slam Dunk Festival, that would have gone and seen Straight from the Path if they knew it was the last chance to see them. So hopefully we get one more.
Praying for it. Please, Stray. We're in festival season. Not a lot of releases come out in festival season. I got 2 notable ones that are coming out in the next couple of weeks. We've got Malevolence with Where Only the Truth is Spoken, and we've got Baby Metal with Metal Forth.
Well, Malevolent, it's going to be great.
Absolutely.
Singles have all been bangers. They've all sort of showcased
metal
different
bands in the UK.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
Tony the Tiger.
Yes.
Baby Metal are cool as well.
Yes.
I'm intrigued by
If
it.
they're listening, don't upset them.
I'm
Come on the
intrigued by
pod.
that release,
Welcome anytime.
Malev, especially Secret Set download? Maybe?
Yeah, it's going to happen,
I
I think.
hope so.
Yeah, it's the worst kept secret of festival season so far.
Gig talk. The only thing we've had recently is Slam Dunk Festival. There'll be a vlog out. There'll be recap out. Yeah. It was a great day.
It was a good day. Yeah,
a lovely
really
way
good day.
to kickstart festival season. Download right around the corner. Many more to come as well. Any particular highlights of the day for you, Ali?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of the recap podcast, but Mouth Culture were great. Neck Deep were fantastic. The Key Club stage was terrible.
Dan?
I think Alex has covered most things there, really. I thought it was like every band on the main stage that I saw was excellent.
Yeah.
I will just say as well, for a Key Club faff aside, for a sold out year, the rest of the organisation was great.
Yeah.
So, but I turned up for Scowl and Split Chain was still sound checking. So I don't know. You tell me.
But you managed to get some food pretty easily.
Easy food, relatively easy toilet queues for a pisser like me. So, cheers.
Landmark sick. Electric Callboy sick. Good times I had. Go check out the vlog.
Enough about Slam Dunk 2025. It's over. It's happened. It's done. Let's look forwards. Look to 2026.
Crystal Ball?
My crystal ball says it's the 20th anniversary and we need to figure out who's headlining. Pondering my orb. Who will headline in 2026 amongst other bands that will also be on the lineup?
Can I start something else for a Slam Dunk prediction next year?
Of course you can.
I don't believe they put out the dates yet. 20th anniversary. Do we get Midlands back?
Oh, don't give me
I'm
hope,
wondering.
James.
I'm wondering just because it's a
give me
lovely
hope.
throwback. I know we went previously to Midlands. You sadly never got to experience
Never got to go.
But I have seen a bit of talk about that online. We had the posters there when we were there celebrating 20th anniversary. Usually you know those dates in advance.
Yeah.
We don't have anything yet.
That's
so there's the first thing for next year.
Well, I
Do we
mean,
get Midlands?
interesting.
Prediction, I don't think they will.
I don't think they will.
That would be nice.
But that's me theorising maybe as we do not have dates set yet, because I feel like they know their dates. They know when they're booked.
Well, it's probably whatever weekend Live at Leeds is on, because it's the same site for Temple Newsome. So if you look into that...
Unless they're bringing back Midlands, so they have to make the other two sites smaller, so they're not doing it at Temple Newsome anymore.
Interesting.
That's not what's going to happen.
Other one I've heard being talked about is that 20th anniversary. Obviously, Slam Dunk is usually a one-dayer.
Oh, don't.
Of whether they two-day it.
Don't.
and in the same place, in the different places, and then on the next day as it switches, lineup switch.
Like a Reading and Leeds type thing.
I've seen that being talked about as well for next year as potential. There's a lot of ideas being thrown around, like how do you make 20th anniversary special? Obviously, Download did theirs a few years ago where we had 4 days of music.
It was hell on earth.
It was mental. We do not talk about the travel that year. But I think there's a lot of ideas. Yeah. It may just be a normal slam dunk and just a big celebration with different acts and throwback things. It could be more.
Let us know what format you would like. 20th anniversary, so you got to go big. Let's throw some names out there, and maybe we'll try and we'll pick a final one each at the end to lock in.
I think the most obvious headliner for me, well, not necessarily most obvious, but most probable, would be Good Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a few years since they've done it. It's been a few years since they released any music, but it looks like they are going to release a new album sometime soon. So I just feel like the planets aligned for them. They've not played the festival for a long time. They're a household name. New music. 20th anniversary. Bish Bash Bosh. Good Charlotte headline. One
that I've considered would be Fall Out Boy. Now, they played it many times before.
Have they played...
even at the first one?
I think they've only played it once.
They not? Have they?
I think they just played the first one.
The first one? At
yeah.
least, yeah.
But that's a massive throwback. The only concern I have with that is, in a way, are they too big? They have headline Download now since, obviously, in recent years. Are they still going to kind of cater towards that side? Does Slam Dunk kind of cater to them and be a slightly bigger festival than we've seen before? Who knows?
I don't think they'll take that risk.
I don't think they'll take that risk either. But then that just plays into question. We've still got to think about the size of the band.
But yeah, Fall Out Boy might be happy to take the step down.
They might be.
As a special treat.
As a little treat, little present. I mean, really, if you want to look at, I guess, maybe sort of classic bands that could headline this festival, you've kind of got to draw a lot of comparisons with When We Were Young type bands. Green Day are way too big. Mm-hmm. Blink, way too big. But what about Paramore? Feels like they're they're sort of an in-between size. Obviously, they wouldn't do Download, but could they headline Reading and Leeds? I don't know.
Ooh.
They'd be the weaker of a co-headline at Reading and Leeds, I think.
Agreed.
But at Slam Dunk, it is a guaranteed surefire classic.
Yeah.
I mean, even though their music isn't really as alternative as it used to be, obviously people still adore that band anyway, and their roots are obviously in that scene. So I don't think it's completely out of the realms of possibility.
Yeah.
But an interesting one at least.
When you look at bands that headline this in particular, you're looking at bands that could probably also headline Wembley Arena. I would say that kind of size. Yeah. One that struck out to me seeing it this year is a band I've not really listened to a hell of a lot, but Pierce the Veil. They've announced a big tour,
of course,
including playing there. They weren't there this year, yet a lot of advertisement was there for them. It was on the screens as well multiple times throughout the day at the main stages. I could see that as a viable option. I believe they've played before, but they've not headlined. I think when we're kind of looking at the right size bands to do that, they could very much fit on the realms of possibility. They cater towards masses with that scene as well.
That's a great shout.
Have they got an album anniversary next year?
I was just thinking, when did Collide with the Sky come out?
Yeah.
But I think that was 2014. Because I think they've
recent?
I think they've already done, or maybe even 2012. I think they've already done anniversaries for it.
It's 2012, yeah.
Wow. 2012, what a time to be alive.
It would be the 10th anniversary of Misadventures.
Don't care.
But no one cares about that.
No one cares.
Another one that I'd thought about, again, similar kind of size, they have headline Bloodstock before, and that we've talked about, is Architects. Now, off a lot of recent albums, the sound has definitely become more accessible for a greater audience, is probably a good way of putting it. They have kind of delved more into kind of radio side of it, especially with songs like Animals that kind of became bigger on Radio 1. They are a big size band. They can do Wembley Arena. They've done it before. I think they could be a viable option. It would then look at Slam Dunk maybe catering a bit more towards the heavier side, which isn't the usual kind of headline you're going to get. Usually there's a mass appeal, but it did seem, seeing a day to remember and seeing a lot of their heavier songs being played this year, people loved it.
Yeah.
And that could work for Slam Dunk.
Yeah.
I think a bit of a wild card prediction here, to kind of step away from headliners for a bit. I think we could see a reunion, or at least like a one-off for that weekend, of a band called We Are the Ocean. They've played Slam Dunk Festival the most times of any band, as far as I can remember. They've been absent for, or well, at least they've not been a band for. Maybe it'll be like 6 or 7 years by the time that comes around. So some one-off shows for them. I just feel like it makes sense. Does that open a door potentially to any other bands that might reform or do some anniversary sets or something?
Great question, Dan.
We had As It Is this year.
I feel
But the year before we had Mallory Knox and the Blackout coming back.
Lower than Atlantis?
I'd love it, but feels unlikely, sadly. But you never know.
Panic at the Disco. I could see them.
They've headlined before. It does feel weird that they called it a day, like less than a year ago, it felt like.
What about Weezer? They're obviously sub-headlining to Green Day this year at Download.
No, they would be
Supporting
headline
Deftones.
size for Slam Dunk.
They'd be headline size for sure. If we want to talk about previous headliners coming back, two easy ones in Shikari and Don Broco.
Yeah.
Two headliners post-pandemic that could, I think, quite comfortably do it again.
I feel like, and we discussed this, I think, on the recap podcast. I think Neck Deep are kind of set in for 2027.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they could headline then.
I think like other bands to appear, especially ones that have appeared previously, I would kind of expect Holding Absence to be there again. I would expect, based on the quietness and no tours coming up, that new music is either being worked on or on the way. I wouldn't be surprised about Boston Manor reappearing. I wouldn't be surprised about Trash Boat reappearing. Now they're kind of coming out of their hiatus. It will be interesting to kind of see if they go with, again, like the main stage East and West and that split. Seeing bands that have been on the heavy stage, I guess we'll just kind of label it as names have changed throughout the years with it. I wouldn't be surprised about maybe a Ghost Inside, maybe a headline heavy set. They subbed I Prevail, I believe it was a couple of years ago. If not last year. I can't really remember. My memory is gone.
As far as bands to headline the heavy stage, I think there's loads. You've got
Beartooth,
Malev. I think Bury Tomorrow probably could do it.
Yep.
Sleeps have done it before and could easily do it again. The Ghost Inside could probably do it. Turnstile could easily do it.
Not Loose
could easily do it.
Could we predict potential Turnstile headline outright?
I think they could.
Yeah, I think so.
Based on the size?
Yeah.
Yeah. Victoria Park for Outbreak London's pretty sizable.
So then on the same thing with Not Loose being a festival headliner already, are we saying they're too heavy?
I think
20th anniversary might be a push, but
we've
maybe
got a better chance of seeing them like sub at Bloodstock.
I don't know.
Or headline.
They headline Bloodstock right now.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe they do actually. Yeah, because if they were at Download, they'd probably sub main stage for like Slipknot or some shit, wouldn't they?
Would Slam Dunk take the leap of a band that haven't been over here for a while? We're meant to be at Download in a headline slot on the second stage last year, I believe, or the year before. Bad Omens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With no new music for a while.
Don't need it.
With the, I don't think so as well, but with new music possibly coming out, they can cater towards quite a large audience. They have got a huge fan base. There is the demand for them, seeing as they haven't played over here in a while.
One of the trump cards that Slam Dunk has in its favour is reaching out to those bands that aren't quite like Download headliner material, but like to give them the opportunity to headline a major alternative festival in the UK.
Give them a launching pad to something like that in the future is almost like a tester. I think that could be something quite interesting to see.
And my point there being Bad Omens would kind of be in that pool of bands that maybe aren't quite a Download headliner, but could headline a UK festival if they wanted to.
Should we divert our attention to some of the other stages, namely Key Club and Kerrang, for maybe, doesn't have to necessarily be headliners, but bands we think would be pretty comfortable there?
Speed.
Yeah.
You were surprised when we put that out. I think,
Oh, that would be crazy.
Last album, incredible. First album,
Also great.
I think they would do a tremendous job and absolutely bring fucking chaos.
I think we're going to see a massive jump for South Arcade in the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be... I mean, obviously, we don't know where we're going to be in a year's time, but they've got the sort of potential to be Key Club... brilliant. They could jump up to from where they are now on Key Club to Key Club headliner.
Yeah.
I think that's not unreasonable for them. I'd really like to see Bill Murray at Slam Dunk.
Yeah,
I don't know where you'd want to put
stage.
him. Much
open
more, like a main stage.
Yeah, one of the main
mid-afternoon
stages.
main stage.
I think that.
I was thinking that about the Wonder Years as well, because obviously it's inevitable they're going to return to Slam Dunk, if not next year, then very soon. But when they headlined the Key Club stage last year, that already felt like they were a bit big for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if when they do return, they're probably more likely to be a main stage kind of band, I think. Where do the stories so far fit on the Slam Dunk bill?
I was just about to say the story so far. I don't know. Genuinely.
They're kind of neck deep size, really, aren't they? But they're not quite headliner.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they sub neck deep in 2027. There
you go.
If I was to predict, I feel like that would be the vibe for the 20th anniversary. Because Alex made the very observant point that a lot of bands this year were playing their first ever Slam Dunk Festival. So I do wonder whether a lot of the reason for that is that they've deliberately stayed away from booking some bands that they normally would, in anticipation of basically having like a big like reunion kind of vibe for the 20th anniversary and just bringing back loads of like Slam Dunk Festival favourites of the past. The likes of 4 Year Strong.
Yeah.
Boston Manor.
Wonder Years.
The Wonder Years.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't be averse to it. Like the thing that I think...
The only problem I'd see is that it's already a very busy day at Slam Dunk. Yeah. And if that lineup's stacked again, then I'm going to want to do both.
I think where Slam Dunk excels is like... I think it does a really good job of booking bands that you probably wouldn't see on a headline tour, but and particularly especially with like sort of classic like throwback and like kind of nostalgia based acts like All American Rejects, Boys Like Girls, We the Kings, Hello Goodbye, The Main, like all of those types of bands that like were maybe like gateway bands or like bands that people grew up with.
Yeah. They maybe have like 3 or 4 big songs that everyone knows.
Yeah.
So like if you're at a festival, you're like, yeah, I'll go and see them.
Yeah, exactly. So all of those bands I just mentioned I would be happy to see them next year.
Shall we make a prediction for headliner each of us?
Yeah. Start at the other end of the table.
Thank you. Good Charlotte.
Fuck. Do I have to pick a different one?
Why did you start this end if you wanted them?
Head says Good Charlotte. Heart says Paramore.
I think Pierce the Veil. I think there was so much promotion of that this year, and something's just kind of like sat there with me, thinking I wouldn't be surprised. But let us know down below.
Actually, I want to change my answer to Weezer.
Gonna go for Weezer.
Yeah, like they're subbing Download this year, and they're supporting Deftones at that one-off show. So I feel like maybe it would be cool for them to kind of do something that's a bit more like outright. They are the top dogs of something. So yeah.
Let us know down below your predictions for Slam Dunk next year. Who do you think is going to headline it? Who do you think is going to feature? Is Midlands coming back? Who knows? Before we go, we got Ragamuffin FM. We have a playlist on Spotify of songs that we've been jamming recently. Anyone got one they want to spotlight in particular?
Oh shit, yeah. That's the thing that we do.
Every episode.
My spotlight song is going to be It's Supposed to Hurt by House of Protection. They're one of my most anticipated sets at Download this year, and I've been really enjoying all of the music that they've been putting out since they formed. So yeah, this one's a banger. Should hopefully put a pep in your step.
I'm going to go with Ambivalence by Alpha Wolf on Half Living Things from last year. I think it's a really great album closer and an extremely underrated song on that album.
I'm going to spotlight No Loss, No Love by Spirit Box because I am absolutely hyped for their set download. So I'm listening to them a lot at the moment.
Link for the playlist will be in the description below, as well as various other links. We have our website, ragamuffin666.uk, where you can get some banging T-shirts.
Various links.
If you want to pre-order any of the albums we talked about, or whether it's out already, whether it's coming up, head to truckmusic.store.
Correct.
Got it correct. We've got the Ragamuffin Club down there, which is our Facebook community. We love talking with everyone about music. Sometimes the YouTube comment section doesn't do enough justice for us to have conversation. So come join the community. It's free. It's fantastic.
Free.
What else have I missed, boys? Anything else?
That's it.
Is that everything?
That's
Slam Dunk
everything.
Vlog.
Slam Dunk
Probably
Vlog.
Be already be on the channel, actually.
Probably.
Slam Dunk Recap.
Probably already on the
saying.
channel.
Probably already on the channel.
Download
Go and find
preview
it.
where we go through the entire lineup about what we're most excited to see. That's also up there. Just loads of stuff.
If you're new, subscribe because there'll be a whole bunch of Download Festival content coming very soon.
And if you're still waiting for download, it's just coming around the corner. You've got a few days after this. Go check out our vlogs from previous years. Get hyped, get excited, and let's all pray for bloody good weather.